What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. Jhin the Virtuoso is the champion being marketed as an AD carry with a secondary role of assassin. He thrives on high-ranged bursts while lacking mobility and consistent damage, and I got a chance to mess around with him a little bit on the PvE, and so here are my thoughts for just how good is Jhin. Also, just a heads up, when this video goes live I'll be giving away a Razer Black Widow Ultimate keyboard, and it's super easy to enter. Check the link in the description. And as well, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you don't enjoy the video, please click the dislike. And if this video hits, let's say, 8,000 ratings, I'll do another giveaway next week. Anyways, let's get started. So Riot is marketing Jhin as an AD carry, but with the kit that he has, I honestly think he's a little bit better in his solo lane. Because he has a fixed attack speed due to his reload mechanic, he doesn't really get that insane late game skilling that you might want from a normal AD carry. But he makes up for it with guaranteed crits, burst, and incredibly high range, causing him to fit as kind of like an assassin a lot more. He plays a bit like an AD Xerath, to be honest, but with even higher range and a little bit more sustained damage. Now I'm going to give a disclaimer here that Jhin is not necessarily my type of champion, and although I did enjoy playing him, I wasn't that good at him compared to some of the other more recent releases. There's also a couple of bugs with him on the PvE right now that make him a little bit harder to play than he should be. That of course will be fixed by the time he's released, but there was like actually multiple times where I just randomly wasn't able to cast abilities for about like 30 seconds and other random crazy stuff. Anyways, getting into his kit, his Q is a pretty decent tool for poke and wave clear, and if you can get some bounces off, it does actually a lot of damage. And his W is actually an amazing ability. It has ridiculous range, it goes through creeps, and it roots the target if you proc the ability beforehand. You can max Q, but I honestly think maxing W would be the way to go, especially in a solo lane, since it just nets you so much free poke where the opponent can't do anything other than just dodge the ability. His E is alright, but the traps take a little bit of time to arm, so they act a little bit more like a zoning tool rather than anything else. One thing though that Riot forgot to mention on his release is that when you kill a target, it actually spawns a trap on their corpse, and I found that mechanic super useful and really nice for teamfights. As for his ultimate, I can say that the ability is as awesome as it looks, and it really just makes you feel like a sniper, you know, shooting out attacks, and the fourth shot in his ultimate is a guaranteed crit that hits for a crazy amount of damage. And then of course there's his passive, which gives you a really nice amount of flat attack damage and some sort of like pseudo mobility, I guess. Every time he crits he gets a movement speed bonus, and with guaranteed crits all the time, it's not that hard to get that, but the move speed bonus isn't actually that high. And although it scales up with attack speed, it's tough to get more than like 50 to 100 move speed or so from this. But I will say that if you have good mechanics and are really good at kiting, this move speed bonus will be super helpful. But if you're like me, my mechanics aren't really good enough to make as good of a use as someone could from that movement speed bonus. And to be honest, his guaranteed crit on the fourth hit isn't actually that good because it's not really a crit, right? It only hits for 150% bonus damage rather than the 200% bonus damage that a critical strike normally would. But although his auto attack crits normally deal 150% bonus damage with an Infinity Edge, it goes up to the normal crit amount of 200%. And his ultimate, with the fourth hit normally critting for 200%, scales up to 250% bonus damage. So Infinity Edge is definitely a core item on him. His attack speed scaling, however, is not that good, and it only really gives you a little bit of bonus AD, and increases the move speed you get after critting, so it honestly might be better to just not build an attack speed item at all. Unless you really want the extra range from rapid fire cannon or something like that, but you'd have to really crunch the numbers on that one to be absolutely sure. And this brings me to his reload mechanic, and oh man, well, it was pretty disappointing to say the least. Every 4 auto attacks he gets a guaranteed crit on the 4th hit, but then he has to spend some time reloading, and the reload time, from what I can tell, seems to be around 2 seconds, which is unbelievably long. Honestly, in playing him, his reload time was incredibly frustrating since it's so long. The guaranteed crit from the 4th auto attack isn't even that important outside of lane, since the 2-second reload time causes you to miss like 2 auto attacks minimum, so the overall DPS is lower than if he had no reloads and no guaranteed crit. Although the 4th auto attack crit is awesome for short trades in lane, it makes him much weaker playing the AD carry style in teamfights. Not to mention that it makes him one of, if not the actual most difficult champion in the entire game to CS with, since you have to micro your reloads to where you aren't reloading when there's a creep at low health, which certainly isn't easy, and you're definitely going to miss CS just because you're reloading. Because of his reload mechanic and burst damage based kit with poor mobility, he's a very sink or swim kind of champion. Either he does a lot of damage and is really powerful, or he doesn't and he's just not that useful. It's really going to depend on how much damage his burst does, and although he does have some utility, it's nowhere near enough to carry the rest of his kit. For my time playing him on the PvE, he felt a little bit underpowered, at least in terms of damage, and is likely to be a top or mid laner rather than an AD carry. But I will say that his ultimate is an incredible tool, and it's pretty easy to pick people off with the range it brings to the table. And the actual range on the ultimate is a little bit larger than the indicator is, so you can surprise people with it a lot as well. And his laning phase has the potential to be really powerful since his W brings a crazy amount of free poke, and the guaranteed crit can put in some work too. And because of his range, if he gets a lead, he's really good at dominating fights since you'll be doing such a large amount of damage at such a crazy distance. So although I wasn't as successful on him as I might have wanted to be, that doesn't mean that you can't have fun and carry games playing Jhin, and he definitely has a lot of potential. And that's just about it. Here's some of my favorite comments from a previous video where I asked what thing you guys missed the most from League. For a chance to be featured in a future video, leave a comment about what your favorite thing about Jhin is. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Her body's gold like September. She burns through the night like an ember. And all those things we try forgetting, I remember. But we say we all fine, we all fine. Sunny day dreams and we up now. Vodka lemonade, I serve it up, it goes down. 75 degrees in a dope sound.